What is happening, tabletop gamers? My name is LeunameGames, and welcome back to LeunameGames. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to play the 2 to 7 player card drafting game 7 Wonders by Antoine Bauza and published by Repos Productions. Let's see what's in the box. In 7 Wonders, players are going to be trying to get the most points by drafting cards to build a civilization around one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world. To set up the game, you're going to have to go through every single one of these decks and take out any cards that do not have a number on the bottom matching the number of players that you're playing with or lower. So, in the case of a 3-player game that I'm setting up here, I had to go through each deck and take out every single card that does not have a 3 on the bottom, with the exception in Age 3. Because in Age 3, they have these purple cards, which are guilds. Now, the guild cards do not have a number on the bottom. So what you're going to have to do to determine how many are in the game is you're going to have to go to the rulebook and determine how many cards you put in for each set of players. For a 3-player game, you put in 5 guilds. Next, you need to give every player a wonder board. To determine which player gets a wonder board, each player is going to draw a card from this deck. Each of the wonder boards has 2 different sides, an A side and a B side. They're going to take a card from this deck. Let's say I took this one, for example. I'm going to spin it around a few times, and then I will flip it over. Whichever side is facing upward is the side you're going to be playing with. For example, I drew the A side with a statue of Zeus. So that is who I'm going to be playing with for this game. There's a few bits of information on each player's board here that's going to be unique to the players, but I will go over that in a moment. Once each player has a player board, you're then going to take the deck of the first age cards, and you're going to divide it up evenly amongst all the players. Once each player has their hand, you then give them 3 coins each, and then you're ready to begin. Here's what a game looks like set up and ready. The game is going to take place over 3 ages. Each age is going to be taking place over a series of turns. Each turn is simultaneous. What the players will do at the same time is that they are going to look at their hand of cards, they're going to pick which one they want to keep, and then they're going to take an action with it. And I'll explain what the actions are in a moment. But essentially, the main mechanic of the game is that you're going to look at your hand of cards, you're going to pick one to keep, and then you're going to take the rest of them and pass it to the next player. Now, in the first and third age, you pass them to your left, but in the second age, you pass them to your right. We'll use my player board as an example for what all you can do with the cards. When you draft a card from your hand, you can either build it straight up, and if you want to build a card, you pay the cost of the card in the top left corner. In this case, in case you can't see that, it's a map. So in order to build this, I would have to have a map resource in the top left corner of my board. Now, I do not have a map resource. All I have is a wood, which is what I start with in the game, so I would not be able to build this. If a card that you draft has nothing on the top left corner, that means you could build it for free. So in this case, I would be able to build this altar for free by simply laying it down in front of me. Another thing you can do is to simply discard a card. When you discard a card, you simply throw it out of the game, and in exchange, you will get 3 coins for discarding it. The third thing that you can do is to use that card to build a stage of your wonder. Now, in order to build a stage of your wonder, you're going to have, again, the resources that are needed in the top left side of your board that matches the level that you're trying to build with. For example, if I wanted to build the level 1 stage for my statue of Zeus, I would need 2 wood. Now, I only have 1 wood, so I would not be able to do this. However, let's say on a future turn that I did manage to get 2 wood, I would be able to build a stage 1 of my wonder. In order to do that, you would take the card that you've taken. It doesn't matter what card it is because it will not be seen. You flip it over and you will put it underneath that stage. Now, each stage that you put it under is going to give you a benefit, either immediately or at the end of the game, or an ability that you can use once during the game. For example, this one gives me 3 points at the end of the game. This one over here will give you 7 points at the end of the game, and that's the most common with the stages of the wonders. Stage 2 is often very different with each wonder. The Pyramids of Giza are the easiest to play with. Every stage just gives you points. The Temple of Artemis is a bit more complex, but it's still pretty simple. The first and third stage on the A side give you points. The second stage gives you 9 gold immediately. On the B side, each stage of the wonder will give you 4 gold immediately, but it will also give you different point values at the end of the game. Colossus of Rhodes is more military based. The second stage on the A side grants you 2 military that you can use throughout the game. The B side only has 2 stages but gives you more benefits. The first stage grants you 3 gold immediately, 3 points at the end of the game, and grants you a military immediately that you can use through the rest of the game. The second stage is pretty much the same thing. You get 4 gold immediately, you get 4 points at the end of the game, and a second military to use throughout the rest of the game. The Lighthouse of Alexandria is basically a resource substitute. On the A side, the second stage will allow you to use the wonder itself as a substitute for a brick or stone or wood. On the B side, it gives you that same thing for the first stage. The second stage will allow you to use the wonder as a substitute for a glass, textile, or papyrus. And once you decided on that, it's not gone forever. You can reuse it as a different resource every time. The Statue of Zeus has some pretty easy stuff. On the A side, on the second stage, this will allow you to, once per age, build a card from your hand for free. The B side is a bit more complex, but still fairly simple. The first stage will allow you to pay for other players' resources at 1 gold each instead of 2 like you normally would. The third stage will allow you to copy a guild that one of your 2 neighboring players have built. The Mausoleum has the same ability on each side. Every time you construct the second stage of the stage A or each stage on side B, it'll allow you to take a card that's been removed from the game and build it for free. The second stage of side A and the third stage of side B for the Hanging Gardens of Babylon are the same. It allows you to use it as a science of your choice, but one science. You can't use it as multiple. The second stage on side B will allow you to actually use the final card that you have. Normally when you get down to 2 cards, you use one and just discard the other one. But with the second stage build, you can use them both. An important thing you need to know is that when you use a resource to build a building that you have, you do not lose it. It is still there for the rest of the game. You just now have had to use it in order to build the building. Now, if you do not have a resource to build a building, but another player does, to your left or to your right, you can pay them 2 coins per resource in order to use their resource to help you build that building. Another thing to keep in mind when it comes to building cards is that there will be bumped the camera. There will be times where you'll actually be able to build a building for free, even if it costs resources. And how you're going to do that is simply by looking up in the corner. And what you'll be trying to look for is that, for example, to build the stables, you would either need a brick, wood, and ore, or you would have to have built an apothecary in the previous age. This is an age 2 card. If you had managed to build an apothecary in the first age, you would have been able to build this for, not that one, build this one for free. There's also going to be buildings that will set you up to build future buildings in a future age. For example, in age 1, if you build this theater in the first age, that will have set you up so now you can build a statue in second age for free. Regardless, after you have taken a card and done an action with it, whether it's discarding the card, building the card, or using it as a stage for your wonder, you then take all the cards in your hand and you pass them to the player on your left if you're in the first or third age, or to the right if you're in the second age. Now, to have a full understanding of what to do in this game, you need to understand what each of the different types of cards are and what they do. So let's do that right now. These blue cards are very simple and straightforward. They simply give you points. These green cards are science cards. And they come in one of three different symbols: a gear, a stone tablet, and a compass. And what you would do with these is that you would earn points at the end of the game for every complete set that you have of each, as well as a multiple of itself for each symbol that you have. Let's say this is what I had when I ended the game: one gear, two compasses, and two tablets. To determine how many points I would get from this, I would first count every complete set of one symbol. Since I have a set of 3 symbols, I would get 7 points for that set. Then I would count every single card that's in a stack. For example, I have 1, 2, and 2. I then square each one. So 1, 4, and 4. You then add the total points up. So for example, I had 7 plus 1 plus 4 plus 4. I would get 16 points for this science set, which is actually pretty good for me. A brown or gray card will simply give you access to more resources. Usually these cards are free to play. However, sometimes they will have a cost up in the corner, but usually they are just 1 coin. Every time you build one of these, you simply take the card and you slide it underneath your resource section of your player board. Red cards are military cards, and these will get you points at the end of every age where you have more military than your opponents on either side of you. For example, let's say this is how the military looked when the first age ended. To determine who gets what, you will look at your military and compare that to all the military you have on either side of you. For example, if this was me, my opponent up here would have no military, but my opponent here had 2. That means that if I was this player, I would have more military than 1, but less military than 1. If I was this player, I had more military than both players. And if I was this player, then I would have less military than both players. Every player that you have more military on, you will earn a military point chip depending on what age you're in. If you were in age 1, you would get this 1 chip. If you were in age 2, you would get this 3 chip. And if you were in age 3, you would get this 5 chip. If, however, you had less than one of your opponents that are sitting next to you, you would get this -1 chip. If you had less military than both of your neighbors, you would get 2 of these. And if you had more than both of your neighbors, you would get 2 point chips. Keep in mind, you only score depending on the players to your immediate left and right. If you are playing a 4-player game or more, you do not compare the results to a player diagonal from you. If an age ends and you are tied with one of the players next to you, but have more than the other, then you will only get 1 point token. If you are tied with both players sitting next to you, then you will not get any point tokens. The last thing up are these cards. These yellow cards are essentially special cards. They can do a variety of things. Either provide you with a one-time benefit like this one, where you immediately take 5 gold. They can give you special abilities that you can use throughout the game. For example, this one, which will allow you to pay you for any brick, stone, wood, or ore on the player to your right for just 1 coin instead of 2. Some yellow cards can act as wilds for any one resource, like this one. This will allow you to use it as a glass, textile, or papyrus. And some will allow you to get endgame bonuses, depending on if you meet them. For example, this one. At the end of the game, each gray resource card that you have in front of you and to the players on either side of you will score you 2 gold each. Lastly, there's these purple cards. The purple cards are guild cards, and guild cards are essentially cards that will give you endgame bonus scoring, depending on what the criteria is. For example, This one will allow you to turn all -1 chip markers that you've gained from military into positive. Or this one that will allow you to earn a point for every blue card that your neighbor has on either side of you. There's a lot of guild cards that are in the game, and I'm not going to go over every single one in this video. If you want to know more about the guild cards, they're very easily explained on the back of a simple rule sheet that you get with the game right here. When all the cards have either been drafted and built or discarded, the age is over. One thing I forgot to mention, that's why I'm adding it here, when the players get down to 2 cards in their hand, they're going to pick which one of the cards that they want to use. The other one is going to be discarded completely, and they do not get the 2 coins for it as they would normally get from discarding. You will then count up the scores and determine points based on military, like I've already said, and then you will deal out your second age cards evenly amongst the players. But this time, when you draw a card, you will pass your hand to the right, like I've said earlier. When all the cards of that have been played, you then deal out the third age cards, and when all that have been played, then the game is over. You will then determine your final scores using this little sheet here that comes with the game, and whoever has the most points is the winner. And that is all you need to know in order to play 7 Wonders. As always, if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will answer them. Thank you all so much as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button down below. Also, if you like my content and you want to support it, please hit subscribe. Thank you all so much as always for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. But until then, see you later.